Thank you, Larry. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I love the energy. I love the energy. Oh, yes, yes, yes. I love it. I need some energy too because I was in the classes with you guys too all day. It's a lot of information, isn't it? It's a lot. And I actually came back from a little nap. I'm not going to lie. I was brain dead. I was like, that's too much information. It's just too much going on at one time. So, yeah. Well, today, my name is David Tran. And today's topic is going to be about private lending, right? Here's a little bit about me. I just want to share with you guys so you guys get a little background about myself, like everyone else is doing the same thing, so you know who's talking. I've been doing fix and flips, wholesaling for over 20 years already. And when I first started, I just graduated from college, and I didn't even know what the word real estate meant, to be honest with you. And it's been a crazy ride. And I just want to share some of the things I've learned. Today's topic is about private lending. And even till today, you know, here's my family. I have twins. And I can tell you that on each part of your journey in life, it's going to keep changing. As you learn more, it's always going to be new things that you're learning. Things are always unfolding in real estate. 20, 30 years, you'll be still learning for life. And I'm just here to share my perspective with you guys of what I've learned. Hopefully, you guys like it. It's about private lending. And I've done a lot of BRRRRs. I used to be a realtor. I did bank foreclosures. I done wholesaling. I did fix and flips. I owned a property management business for 8 years. And now I'm doing more private equity because the people that I helped, and I've done a lot of seminars and coaching and stuff too, the people that I've helped that started when they were 19, 20, now they got money. And they're like, what do I do now? So, depending on where you are, we'll share. So, what is private lending? Private lending, I'm going to make this simple for you guys too. The way I explain things, it's the same way I would explain to my 10-year-old son, right? I like to make it simple. Private lending is when individuals or entities provide loans of ours. It's pretty much when an individual acts as a bank, right? You guys are always like when you go outside, if you look outside, what do you see the most of? Banks, right? Everyone's a lender out there. Why is that, right? I as you're wholesaling, you're thinking about how do I find my deal? How do I knock on doors? How do I do marketing? And then when you do fix and flips, you're going to be dealing with how do I find contractors that's not going to run away with my money, right? Each and every one's a different game. Like that's how I look at it. I like to play games, right? So as a private lender, how do you need to think like a bank? So anyone could be a private lender, and then there's also accredited investors. If you're making a certain income, it says right there, if your net worth is $1 million, excluding your primary residence, or your high annual income is $200,000 or more individually, or $300,000 jointly, that qualifies you as a accredited investor. So a lot of times when people raise private capital, they always want to ask you, are you a accredited investor? Because a lot of times there's a lot of laws about private lending, and they can't solicit you or anything like that. So just want to let you know a little bit basics, but basically you being a bank. Summary. Okay, who is private lending good for? It's people seeking to make higher double-digit returns and have their money secured by real estate collateral. People who have busy lives, full-time jobs, people that's not interested in doing any physical labor, nor managing people, and prefers to have their money work for them, right? So they can have the time freedom to either do the things you enjoy, like build your health. A lot of times when we work hard, we lose our health. And it's something that we don't pay attention to. Health is wealth. And sometimes you have money, but you lose your health. That happened to me. I went to the hospital twice in a year, realized I almost could die easily. And I was just like, wow, I could just go like that. And, Same thing happened during COVID. I started seeing a lot of my friends just leave. It just makes me think. It just gives me perspective that I never had because I think sometimes you just think you're gonna live forever, but these things hit you, and then when it happens, when I'm in the hospital, you got family members concerned, and you start to see everyone's concerned face. You're like, wow, I really got to pay attention to these type of things. Health, relationships, right? Love. I come from a workaholic family. My parents own a restaurant. They work 7 days a week. Still do. Can't stop. When my father stops, he gets sick. So, I actually didn't understand. Like I always thought that, hey, if I became a provider, I'm good. I make money. I give my kids money. We're good. Now I'm in America. I'm not in Asia now. No, you need love. You need to be there for them. You need to show them the ropes. There's a lot of things that they need more today that I wasn't even aware of. Like when I talk to my parents today, I'm just like, you never gave me love or something like that. They're like, what are you talking about? So that's normal. I just want to let you guys, that's normal. I had to learn, first generation, second generation, get smarter, hobbies and, doing purposeful work. So love is another thing too. I've been together with my wife for 28 years. And, 28 years, you go through a lot of ups and downs, right? Again, these things take time. While you're trying to figure out your real estate business and you're not thinking about health, you don't understand, you have children, wives, you add all these things up. These are all different games. That's how I look at it. I'm like, I signed up for too many games, and I'm just like, wow, this is life. Life is challenging. So as I get older, I stumble upon private lending right now, where it's like, wow, I work, first is acquire assets, fix and flip. I was always thinking, make the cash, keep turning the money. There's different mindsets for different things, right? So these are things I've dabbled with, like Bitcoin, I'm making like 2,000% return. That sounds amazing, right? But then when it first started, no one knows anything about anything, right? And so people's phones get hacked, you lose your Bitcoins, you don't know how to find your codes, a lot of crazy stuff. And then there's scam artists that a whole bunch of things. There's always new coins. There's always something to learn, right? Everything you do, right? Stocks. I thought I could do stocks too. I was like, but then what happened with stocks is I realized that it was boring. I was always glued to my computer. I had no life, right? Every day I'm looking at my phone like, yo, what happened to that thing? I'm like day trading, so I didn't even know that, other things exist. So, and it's hard to just buy something, wait a couple months or years because I felt like I was doing nothing with my life. So I felt I had to do stuff, and so day trading wasn't that great. Even when I figured it out, I'm like, no, that's not what I want to do. And then I thought about real estate, right? My mom and dad came over in the 80s. They didn't speak any English. And when they bought a property, I think, they didn't have anything. So they bought a property for 40,000, right? And they lived in it, raised me. And I don't know, like 15 years later, their house quadrupled in price. And I just thought about it. I was just like, why am I doing anything else? They didn't even speak English, like, come on. Like, and you don't, so my point is, I don't like when I went to school, I'm a computer engineer. I'm always trying to find the fastest route to things, but I also know I'm not the smartest one, right? So I sat there and thought about what's the easiest thing where I won't fail. That's how I thought, because being smart and not making mistakes is a lot of pressure. But real estate, one thing I can tell you is you just need time, right? I could be the dumbest person buying a property where everyone's saying that was a horrible area to buy, Dave. 10 years later, you're a genius. You knew before this happened. And I'm like, yeah, I'm, I thought ahead. That's the beauty of real estate. Like if you play for the long game, real estate's a long-term game, right? It's not short-term. It's not day trading. Everything about real estate is long-term, and there's a lot of benefits if you hold real estate. And so I've been doing wholesaling and fixed flipping for 20 years. I just started reflecting on my life, and I'm discovering all these things. And I'm like, those games were exciting. Every time I found a deal, it's like, yes, you know. Every time I did a flip, it's like, oh, feels so good. I realize now they were just dopamine hits, you know. And I'm just now understanding now that it's like it's a whole different life that I'm going through right now, where I'm just sitting here like, what really matters to me right now? Like, what is it? And I want to be able to pass these things to my children. And do I really want my children to be like me, to learn out there, go out there and work hard? Because I've been taught to work hard, always work hard. And do I really want that for my kids? I don't think it's necessary, because the technology, the AI and everything, I don't think it's necessary. If anything, all the work's being done somewhere else or by computers. Why would I teach my kids to work hard? I would just teach them to work, just do what they want to do, just live their dreams. So I feel like I'm a better parent. At least they're happy. I focus on happiness, right? So as I sit here, I just want to share with you guys like some of the things that I didn't pay attention to before was inflation, right? And so for inflation, what happens is, your dollar is worth less because the inflation is going up. And I just started looking up inflation rates, right? And I was just thinking about, man, in 2021, because I'm curious about what happens after COVID. Because I survived. We're all survivors. Can we get a hand for that? We all survived COVID, right? You know what I mean? So I want to know what happens afterwards, because one day I want to tell the story to my kids, like, yo, I survived that thing, right? It was crazy. Like, nobody could do nothing. We're all trapped in our homes. And then when I look at inflation, I'm just like, 2021, 4.7%, 2022, 8%, 23, 4.1, 2.9. What does this all mean anyways, right? What it means is, it's real simple. When I went to McDonald's before, I was affording McDonald's easily. And then after COVID now, I'm like, why is this thing like, feels like it's costing me some money now, It's like just to get a Happy Meal for my kids, because I got twins, right? So every time I'm buying double. So I'm feeling the effects quickly. It's compounding quickly, right? So little things like that, when I start thinking about this, I'm just like, man, is my money holding its value? And I think about banks. How much money am I making in my bank account? I asked my wife, she knows. She's always looking at it, right? She's like, not even 1%, right? And then I was just like, not even 1%? I'm losing money just sitting there every year. And it keeps adding up. So it just made me look at numbers, and it's kind of scary, because if we print more money, what happens to my money now? And so it's just like, what is money? Like, these questions just flow through my head. Like, yeah, is this created? Is this real? So, it just makes me think about, how should I make money? What is real? Like real estate, like what are things I want to hold on to? Because stocks can go up, down, or whatever. But at the end of the day, I just want to know, like, I want to do something that's safe, because I have a family. So it goes to, it's like, how much the bank is paying me? Nothing. You get a CD and everything. And then I just think about, like, how do they make money, right? They lend money. And banks has always been around, and they keep growing, and they always got more money to lend. And I'm always feeling like I don't have enough money. Every time I buy a property, I'm running low on money. I'm like, am I doing something wrong? Am I on the right side of the equation? So I just sit there and think about it. Like, how do they make money? Well, I tried to get an SBA loan before. It was so difficult. I had to write proposal. Yeah, I was going to give it back to you. Yeah, so I was just thinking about like SBA loans. I tried to get a loan. I had to write all these. It was not easy. It's not something you just go to a bank and get so easily. You got to write reports and everything. I'm like, man, everything's so hard when you ask people to borrow money, especially when you need money. Especially when you need money, you can't. When you don't need money, they're like, yo, you need money, I got you, right? But when you need it, it's not there. And I think about cars. Banks lend money to cars because they see that I need to drive around. That makes sense. But they always lend on real estate. Why is that? You ever ask yourself, why is it so easy? Every bank lends to real estate. And it's like, it's such a common thing. It happens every day, right? You lend money to real estate, but why? And I sit there and think about, like, man, every time we have to put down 10%. If I put down 10 grand, they give me 90 grand. Who does that? Only in real estate. It's crazy. I don't know what goes on, but as I dig deeper, I'm like, I thought they're just crazy, but real estate, it's safe. why don't I do that? Why don't I lend on real estate, right? And then I think about how they make money. Think about what kind of products do the bank have? They have no products. Their products are created from our money that we put in the banks. Is that true? Right. So it's just like, why don't I learn how to do what they do and lend my own money if I'm going to do it? Like, because whether you know it or not, I mean, it's secured, 250,000 secured, but still, it's just like I'm making 0% or 3% if it's in a CD or whatever the interest rate is, right? But I never think like that. I'm just thinking like, if they're doing it, why don't I just learn how to do it myself? And if you guys are all real estate investors and learning how to real estate, I mean, even if you're going to put money, why not lend it out to real estate and borrow your own money? Unless you need to, when you have money, that's what you should do. Like learn how to be the bank, basically. And so it brings to like the rule of 72. I'm, a lot of things I'm sharing with you guys is kind of like I'm just helping you guys wrap your mindset about like money, right? Because all these perspectives I'm sharing with you is things that I didn't understand. I had to piece together. But when you put it all together, you're like, that makes sense. Why there's so many banks out there, right? Everyone's like, you need to borrow money, you need to borrow money. And it gets crazy too. At first, it used to be like 1.3 debt service coverage ratio. Then 1.2. Now it's 1.1. I got a guy out there say, yo, I got you. 0.9. I'm like, what you mean 0.9? You could be losing money. I'll lend you money. I'm like, this is crazy. It must be good just being a bank. They must be making money somehow because it's getting ridiculous. So the rule 72, it really pretty much teaches you how long it takes to double your money. Because at the end of the day, we're doing all real estate. It's all for money, right? And when you have money, what are you going to do? So depending on what stage of life you're at, right, there comes a point where you're going to have enough and you should be lending. So hopefully this is kind of like a seed I could plant into you that when you're ready, you know how this works. If you put money in the bank and you're making less than 1%, let's say it's 1%, it takes you 72 years to double your money, right? 2%, 36 years. You get the point, right? 6%, 12 years. So that's pretty much how long it takes to double if you're probably at a CD around, give or take. I don't know what today's interest rate is. I never put it in CD. Yeah, so if it's 10%, it's 7.2 years. 12% is 6 years. You guys get the point, right? I didn't, right? Because I borrow hard money. I borrow private money, right? And I'm babysitting. I got 20 minutes? Okay. Trying to figure out 20 minutes. All right, so as I do my fix and flips, as I do my wholesale, I'm always borrowing money. We're taught always never to use our money and leverage. But now, as I'm growing, I'm like, wait a second, I should be lending my money out too, or parking it or something to get more equity because it's all about turning your money faster and compounding it faster. Right? That's the game. The game is about money. So if I never really pay attention to money and I keep focusing on finding deals, I'm actually not doing myself a service because I should be focusing on how fast that money keeps doubling. Right? So let's just use an example of 200,000. Let's say this is an example, like when I borrow money from my private lender, say she lent me $200,000, right? And this says that at a 12% interest, that's what I give her, right? It takes her 6 years to double her money, right, annually. What does that mean in 18 years? So she started at 200,000, but you 3 times that, and you got 1.5 mil. That's the power of compound. That's what I always talk about when you're younger. Start putting in a Roth IRA and keep compounding, I think. Same concept, right? So when I look at it, because I'm sitting here thinking about, I'm sitting here thinking about when I lend money to my private lender, I'm sitting here looking at my returns, I'm like, how much money does she make? She did nothing. You know how many skills I have to have? I have to be able to find deals. I'm doing marketing, right? I'm knocking on doors. I'm training teams out there, cold calling, texting, right? And it's not easy because they get started, they learn something, they drop off, they leave. I'm starting to do VAs, but as I look at this, the point is I manage a lot of contractors. I even built up contractors over 10 years, and now they're stable. I can rely on them. They don't run away with my money. That's pretty much what my biggest concern is, right? So it takes a lot of work, a lot of skills, a lot of effort, a lot of time to do all that. Would you guys agree? Well, every time I did a flip, I just started one day. I just started to pay more attention to finances and time right now. Now that I have twins and I feel like they're growing up so fast, so I'm just sitting here looking at numbers, and I'm like, how much money? Oh, it's only. I used to be the guy that's saying, "Man, give someone 12%. Shh, the heck am I gonna do with 12%? I need to make that money, right? That's how I think. Speed is money, and I'm looking at large amounts, and I'm looking at, let's say, if I borrow something, and I'm like, 1% a month. If I move in 3 months, how much did it make? And that's a true statement, right? But when I actually calculate it and I calculate everything else out and my marketing and the transfer taxes, right? I'm like, yo, in 3 months, she's making roughly about 20% of my profits. That's only 3 months. I've done because it really hit me because there was one deal that went. It was one of my worst deals, and there was a delay because the contractors kind of messed up, did some illegal construction, got caught. Took 2 years. And when I looked at her profit, I'm like, why are they making more than me? And I'm lucky to even make money. Most people would have lost money, right? But when I sat there and thought about this, I was like, how much did he make in 3 months? I started asking different questions. And I'm like, wow, in 6 months, that's like 40% of my profit. I'm from Philadelphia, guys, so my profit margin isn't like Jersey. Your Jersey profit should be a lot larger, but I'm from Philadelphia, a fix and flip, I might profit like 40 or 50 grand. And when they're making like 17, 18 grand, I'm like, whoa. And then I remember she's really nice to me. She's like a mother to me. She's like, David, you got to speed up. I'm like, I'm fixing and flipping in 3 months. How much faster do I have to do this? And she's like, you shouldn't even be fixing flipping. And I said, what? She's like, you got to figure out a faster way. She said, the longer I hold your money, the longer you're not going to make money. And I said, I appreciate that advice, but I never understood until I paid her. And then she's like, you feel it now? And I said, I never actually ran into a situation where she's like, you see it? She's like, I'm not like, because I pay her monthly. And she's like, don't worry about the monthly payment. She's been doing business with me for 10 years, right? She's like, I know you're good for it. I finally sold that property last week. And she's like, look at your numbers. And I'm like, look at my numbers. And it's like, wow. And she's like, you see, hurry up, do what you got to do. You have a family now. You have to do something different. You have to think different. And I said, wow. And she's like, when I've been working with you, I tripled my money already. Right? And I said, she's like, yeah. It's like, Dave, it's going on 12 years. I charge you 12%. I said, you triple your money with me? She's like, yeah. And I get collateral, right? And I know you know how to find good deals. You find the best deals, Dave. And on top of that, you're so good. She's like, I don't know how you do it, but I got friends that buy in this area. They always lose money. You buy this area, you always make money. You're like a unicorn, So it makes me feel like I'm partially proud. Like I'm like, yes, but part of me is just like, I did all this work and you didn't do anything. Like, man, no wonder people fail all the time. I mean, I don't know how to feel about this, confusing. But yeah, I just want to share here, like, even when you're lending at 10% or 12%, hard money lenders, they charge points up front. It might be 15, 60%. If you really sit there and do your math, how much money are you really making? Sit there and play with those numbers, right? You better be fast. You better be good. That's the truth, And 2% over 18 years is 400 grand. So I wrote this, I brought this out because someone to me, 2% is nothing. It's like, what are we talking about here? But for someone that's doing long term, it's 400 grand. Would you like 400 grand more when you retire or not? So yeah, don't think the interest is like the hidden thing that no one pays attention to. I just want to bring more awareness to it, so you just pay attention, right? Ways to get into private lending. Own a home, HELOC. I'm trying to get my mom. My mom now is thinking about, I had to do a whole presentation for her. So this is how that presentation was born, though. You know what I mean? Because mom's the hardest one to persuade. They know you. They know everything wrong about you, and they don't want to ever lend you money. You know what I mean? So I had to do this presentation for my mom, and then she's like, "This makes sense," So HELOC is one way. some people, play the game of credit cards, 0% interest, 18%, 0%, 18 months, 0%. You can even borrow, if your credit's good, you can even borrow money and lend to someone for a higher interest rate and then pay it back. I mean, 401ks, right? Retirement, self-directed IRAs. So you don't keep that, compounding. And if you got the Roth, you don't have to pay taxes. You can go to Camera Plan. They do all that Roth IRA stuff. You can learn more about that online. But anyone, like especially if you have a job and you want to get into real estate, I always recommend people to look into it. This is pretty much like what it looks like. Like this is like a kitchen rendering I did, and then a kitchen I did, right? So I'm just going over the things that you need to know as a private lender. You need to know the purchase price. You need to know your renovation costs. You could just snap a picture of this. I'm just saying it out loud. Interest rate, you want to know what your interest rate is. And so the more experience equals lower risk. And if it's lower risk, usually it's less interest rate. So if your interest rate is really high, and if someone comes to you and say, yeah, you're like, yeah, I want 15%. Yeah, okay, no, not a problem. Sometimes it's because they have no experience and they just want this loan through no matter what, be careful, right? Ways that insures lenders is protected, right? As a private lender, how are you protected, right? One of the things is you have a title insurance policy and then you get your lender's policy, right? That protects you because it makes sure that the person that bought the property sold the property, actually owns the property. Otherwise, it could be fraud and you could be doing a whole bunch of things and then you get into a mess later, right? So getting a lender policy, that'll protect you one way. You get a promissory note from the borrower. That will also protect you because that's them promising to pay, have them personally guarantee. If you want to run their credit and check their credit too, just be a bank. This is how you be a bank, right? You got your mortgage, right, which is the collateral on the property. So before you even lend that money, you got to know if that property is a good deal, right? You get property insurance too, where you also get additional insured. So when I do this, I compare it to like stocks. Like, what's my guarantee on stocks or crypto? Nothing. So if I want high returns and I know what I'm doing, I'm gonna go crypto because I want 2,000% return. 2,000%, yeah. But if I want safety and now I'm like I got this nest egg and I don't want to risk it, I'm gonna do real estate. It's just been around for a long time since human race, And so this is pretty much the timeline of acquisition, renovation. This is kind of like the steps. Here's an example of something I bought and fixed that I just sold like last week, right? When I bought it, it's a hoarder's house, right? I changed it to that. This is a couple photos of what I do. This before and after. I'm gonna skip the videos in case you want to see the piles of trash because it was up to here. It's just fun stuff I want to share. But let's talk about how not to lose your money, right? Proper screening of the opportunity. So when someone brings you a property and say, hey, I wanna lend you a property, I don't think any of you guys are realtors. You can always talk to a realtor and run comps, but I just don't. I've been a realtor, and I don't trust realtors. I'm sorry. A lot of realtors they know how to sell houses. They know how to. Let's just say I do my own homework. All right. So you can look at things. You can look up Zillow, which I'm just saying give you an idea, not accurate. You can buy a software called PropStream. A lot of wholesalers, investors buy that. They'll give you more public records, MLS. So what I do is if I would just go ask the realtor, look on Zillow, compare to PropStream, and then like agents that specialize in certain areas, right? I would run all these scenarios and make sure they all align, to be safe. Just do your own due diligence, right? Proper screening of borrower. See, a lot of times the property is really easy to assess. People just pop that on and you can find out the area ballpark. But I think the most important is a proper screening of the borrower. You want someone with a track record, with a good reputation of success. So look at their previous deals, see if they made money, right? Ask them, hey, what are your worst deals? Show me what they look like. Like mine was 2 years and I'm still making money. It shows that, yeah, I know what I'm doing. So you want to hear people's worst stories. How did they overcome it? You want to know that you're working with someone that knows how to troubleshoot things. They know how to problem solve. Because if you're investing, once upon a time you were the investor. Now you got to make sure that you're investing in someone that's equally as good as you or even better. Why invest in someone that you're going to lose money with, right? You got to make sure that it's safe. The more years of experience, the better, right? Invest in an expert, not just any family member. I have a lot of people that invest in family members. Just remember, when you invest in a family member, it's philanthropy. Just remember that, okay? You're helping out a family, and they'll keep your stress level down, right? That's just what it is. Contractors must be experienced. Look them up. Make sure they're licensed. Make sure they're insured. Um, things I've seen deals where I looked at contractors. They were doing like 10 rehabs at a time. They looked at real good to me. But what happened was he went through a divorce, right? And it went downhill. So you never know. You never know. You really can't tell. You can only do your best. That's a fact, right? And what is the worst case scenario when you lose? Let's say you lose money. You hire a lawyer. You foreclose on a borrower. You take back the property. Of course, you bought it right or lent right. You lent up to a certain percent ratio, and so you're always going to get a property that is holding its value, maybe 70 to 80% LTV, depending if you know the person, if you're experienced. It's really down to your comfort, how much you want to lend, right? But just like hard money lenders, they lend like right now, they're lending like banks lending up to like 85%. You just want to find or some collateral to make yourself safe, right? You could then place it on the market and sell it. And usually because you lent it out at 80%, when you put it on the market 80 cents less, it's going to get sold, right? Even if it's a shell, because I've seen shells where if you bought it right, you're lending based off of what it is. And when you lend people money, you lend them in phases. So you see them fix it up, right? So you're not giving them all your money at one shot. You're giving them in phases. That way, like if they default or whatever on that first phase, you know that you got most of your money back out. You didn't lose the property value and the construction that they could run away with, right? Um, this is a book I recommend. Like I read this book, and it's called A Banker's Code. It teaches you the mindset about money. It's everything like I shared, and it goes into more wealth building strategies. So for anyone that's looking to build wealth, this is a book I recommend. If you want to look further in this mindset, these are people that I've lent to, right? And also lent with me, my contractors, and you as a lender, it's really like what Rich Dad Poor Dad talks about. This is one way to have your money work. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's like first you work, later on you have your money work for you, and you want whatever you're doing to outlive you. You always want your investments to outlive you. So that pretty much is a wrap for my presentation today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you. Yes. Question. Sorry, forgot about that. That's easy, girl. Anyone need money in here? Can I get a raise of hand? Boom. Well, and then the next thing is like, let's say anyone that needs money. So I would say talk to fix and flippers, right? Um, they would be your ideal because they're always fixing, flipping, and sometimes even wholesalers. Sometimes you could do joint ventures with them. There's a lot of things you can do, but there's a lot of people looking for money. There's a lot of people looking for money. You just need to go talk to experts, right? And figure out, hey, what is the interest rate? I would recommend you working with experts. Yes, I get first position. You want to get first position. Unless it's a small amount, then you want to figure out some type of other collateral. But usually lenders lend the whole amount. Like Philadelphia is cheap, right? So it's like 200 grand. You can't do much with 200 grand, like a whole house in Jersey. But in Philadelphia, 200 grand, you're getting a first mortgage, and you want a first mortgage. Well, if you have a second lien position and it defaults on it, you get paid after the first lien position. So whatever's left over, you get it. So if they bought a lot and you got a little bit, you may or may not even get your money back. So you always want your first lien position. I recommend that. That's the safest route. What happens to the? It goes to the lender. Yeah, that's the benefit. I mean, I'm not. I don't want to show you the other side of being a lender, but sometimes if it's a good deal, if they default, you're happy. You know what I mean? I don't want to say that, but it's like yes, I'm making more money. But generally, that you just focus on being a lender. You do your part, they do their part, you go together, and that's it's a happy, harmonious relationship. Yes, I haven't. My lender have, and she said that the process it still takes a long time, but she still got her property back out. Same thing I shared. She put it on the market, she sold it, she got her money back out, and the only thing that she said she lost was the time. That's it. But the person that was actually very I deal with a lot of Asian lenders and stuff. So the Asian borrowers too. And so they had the money. They own restaurants. They keep paying every month, but they didn't want to refinance. They were happy paying 12%. And she's like, but that's not what I want to do. So she wanted her money back, but she didn't lose money. I got 1 minute, guys. You gentlemen. My life, like what's looking at deals and asking people questions and screening like what kind of experience they have, and the rest is just spending time with family and doing whatever you want. Most of the people in Florida living right now, they're private lenders and they're just lending up here and they don't, you know, we're doing the work here. It's like retirement and you having your money work for you. Hopefully that answered it. Yes, you. I mean, for me, my private lender came to me and said, David, you know what a good deal look like. I know you for a long time. If you think you have a good candidate, I'll let you broker it too, and I'll work together with you on it. I just want to make sure I don't even want to do anything. You talk to them, you get me the paperwork. I don't even want to talk to them. So you can work with people too in that. I did, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like you know how they charge points? She's like, you can have the points. Yeah, just give me my interest that I want. And that's it. Or sometimes they might say, hey, I'll lend it to you at 8. You go ahead, go make it 12. I don't care. But I want my 8. No, no, it's private. Now if you're going out there promoting and marketing it, you can't do that. Yes. You mean so I was paying 12%. Like I only need lenders as more deals coming in. So if you're interested, I could talk to you more about that afterwards. Like if you're interested. Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead. What's the difference? Uh, it's harder, like meaning like they make more money. It's kind of like the same thing, but the good thing about private lender is they're flexible. So my lender, when she met me, it's more about people to people. I didn't have to do all the paperwork. It was like she just came, looked at my job. She's like, it's more flexible. And hard money, 2 weeks sometimes, whatever they do, they sell their loans or they have criteria. My lender, when I call him, it's like, when do you need it? I'm like, I need it tomorrow. Like, for me, I like to work with private lenders that can work fast, because where I find the good deals is sometimes I build a relationship with title companies or something like that, and the deal falls through. And they'll call me up, Dave, you got the money? Like, can you close tomorrow? I call my lender, yo, do you have, a couple $100,000? Yeah, no problem. I'll shoot it over today, and then I get the deal. So that's why for me, I don't mind my private lenders, getting paid, because without her, how can I get the access to the deal? So we're actually winning and growing together, and we're always like a team. I recommend you always hire a lawyer, but if you need copies of paperwork and stuff, like how it looks like in Philadelphia, because I don't know, every state's different. You hire your state's lawyer. If you want to email me, I can show you like what the Philadelphia documents look like, so you have an idea. Okay. Yes, gentlemen. What's the best way to find private lenders? I would say the best people are the people that know you, right? Start within your circle, because they already know you. Meeting people that's brand new, it's a lot of screening process, versus someone that's seen what you've done, followed you on Instagram or Facebook. They already know what you do. By the time you come up to them, they're like, I've been waiting for you, bro. You know? All right, guys. Thank you again. Have a great day.